somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and I see a lot of patients who are very old, and the weather there is very, very cold. So my topic here is I can think, I can wait, I can fast. How many of you have read the book called Siddharth by Hermann Hesse? Okay, so quite a lot of people. So this book was written by a German author in 1922. He even won the Nobel Prize for that. So in this book, the main character Siddharth says that he only has these three possessions in his life. The only wealth he has in his life is he can think, he can wait, and he can fast. Now, how are these three possessions the only possessions you need to have a fulfilling life? Say, if you can fast, you can tolerate the pangs of your stomach. And we say in Hindi, sab papi pet ka sawal hai. So exactly, if you can suppress your hunger, you can basically won't have to do things that you have to regret in the future. So now let's go into the topic. Okay, so I don't have any conflicts of interest to report, although I would love to have some. No recommendations are FDA approved. Fasting is not yet a solution recommended by the FDA, and there are no FDA approved drugs. So now let's go into the physiology of fasting. So generally, what is fasting? So fasting is basically any time when you are not eating, that's basically fasting. So we ate at 9 p.m. yesterday, and till 9 a.m. in the morning we are fasting. So we fasted for 12 hours here. And after 9 a.m. in the morning till now, we are still fasting. So anytime you are not eating is basically fasting. Now, when we are eating, we get carbohydrates, fats, proteins, those kinds of stuff. Most of the time, our body is in what we call a sugar burning mode. So we use carbohydrates, we use the glucose from food, and whatever we can't use, we store that as glycogen in the liver. Now the glycogen stores in the liver, usually kind of, they are exhausted by about 24 hours. You lose almost 85% of the glycogen in your liver by 24 hours if you have not had anything to eat. The fat burning starts almost at that time, around 16 to 18 to 24 hours is when the fat burning now starts. So the body stores fat as a reserve food. It is the food which is stored in your deep freezer or you use when you are not eating. So whenever say we are fasting and we have exhausted our glycogen reserves, we go to burning fat. So once we start burning fat, what happens is fat is stored as triglycerides, which has a glycerol and 3 fatty acids molecule. Now those are oxidized. The fatty acids go into the liver, they form ketone bodies from there. The glycerol is used to make glucose. Okay, so there are various kinds of fasting which are being researched, which are being studied. Intermittent fasting or time-restricted fasting, they are looking at the same thing in different ways. So there are various kinds, like say our Ekadashi is a kind of intermittent fasting if you follow it very properly. The recommended is like you stop eating the evening, the day before Ekadashi and the Dashami, and then you fast the whole day of Ekadashi and you break on the Dwadashi. So you basically do a fasting of 36 hours of intermittent fasting on Ekadashi. And it can also be, and there's other ways of doing it, like some people do intermittent fasting every day. What they do is they eat only between a certain timing, so like eating between 12 p.m. and 8 p.m. So 8 hours is the time they eat, also called as time-restricted feeding, and then they fast for 16 hours. Some people do 12 to 4 eating, and then they fast in the other time, so they do 20 hours of fasting. Now, benefits of intermittent fasting, there are a lot of benefits, especially in mice, especially in rabbits. A lot of researches have been done, and they have been proven to be beneficial, and some of those researches have also been in humans, we'll see later. So fasting leads to lower body weights, and this has been proved in rabbits, rats, men, everyone. There is a reduction in the visceral fat, the fat inside your organs, your internal organs, and the abdominal fat. But the good thing to know is the muscle mass is not decreased. So nobody loses muscle mass or protein by fasting, because once you start fasting, you first get rid of the carbohydrate, then you go to the fat. So as long as you have fat in your body, you do not eat up your muscle. You first eat up the fat, And once that is completely gone, then you go to the muscle. So they have done multiple researches, and all of the researchers have consistently shown that fasting does not lead to loss of lean mass. Longer lifespan seen in rats, increased insulin sensitivity, glucose tolerance, preservation of cognition, somatosensory function, and decreased rate of diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinsonism, especially in rats who fasted. Other benefits, increase in the level of corticosterone. They have also been able to cure type 2 diabetes mellitus in rat models with time-restricted feeding of 16 hours. So basically, the rats would only eat for 8 hours in a day, and they would fast for 16 hours, and over a period of 4 to 6 weeks, they were completely cured of diabetes. It also causes a reduction in your heart rate, blood pressure, increased physical fitness, beneficial in animal models of Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and it has also been shown to delay progression of cancer, and that is by the process of autophagy. So autophagy is a process by which degraded or misfolded proteins, the damaged cell organelles, are removed from your body. And I think in 2016, a researcher from Japan got a Nobel Prize in discovering autophagy. So now there was a recent article, systematic review in 2018, done by Baghernia. He basically combined a lot of studies in animals and humans on autophagy, and said that there is a very strong evidence to link autophagy to decreased rates of diseases like cancer, diabetes, infectious disease, aging, so those kinds of issues. And sometimes when the autophagy is dysregulated, people go into this kind of diseases like diabetes, cancer. So now the benefits in human beings. This was a study which was published in 2013. So in this study, what they did was they took about 115 women, obese women, BMI around 25 to 40, had them fast for 4 months, and they did 3 different kinds of fasting. So 2 were intermittent fasting. One was intermittent fasting only, one was intermittent fasting with some protein and fat in between, and one was what you call daily energy restriction. So daily energy restriction is a way of eating where you just eat less than 800 calories every day for a while, and they did that for 4 months. So with this study, they showed that intermittent fasting is not inferior to daily energy restriction. It is as good as daily energy restriction in lowering body weight, BMI, body fat. This study also shows that your lean mass does not get wasted, like you do not lose your proteins when you are doing intermittent fasting. The other things they found in this study was decrease in fasting glucose, decrease in hemoglobin A1C, decrease in triglycerides, LDL, decrease in waist circumference, hip circumference. So all those markers which we see are correlated with chronic coronary artery disease, cerebrovascular disease. All of those were improved with both intermittent fasting as well as daily energy restriction. Now certain markers improved better with intermittent fasting, like reduction in hemoglobin A1C, decrease in the level of insulin, so less hyperinsulinemia with intermittent fasting than with daily energy restriction. This is another study published in 2012. So in this study, what they looked at was a population called as Latter-day Saints in Utah. These are Mormons of the Christian faith, where they fast every Sunday evening for like 24 hours. So they fast once a month, and they looked at those people and found that people who practiced regular fasting, they had a lower incidence of diabetes mellitus and a lower incidence of coronary artery disease than people who did not fast. So, again, effect on type 2 diabetes, again, the A1C is reduced once you start practicing intermittent fasting. The fasting glucose levels are reduced. Cardiovascular health is a decrease in resting heart rate, decrease in blood pressure, decrease in insulin, decrease in homocysteine. So these are all markers of heart disease, and all of those go in the right direction with intermittent fasting. Now with cancer, there is surrogate evidence from animal studies to show that with autophagy, there is a decreased risk of having cancer, a decreased risk of having those misfolded proteins to cause cancers and other chronic diseases. Now let's go to the myths of fasting. Why people, even after we know that it's such a good thing to do, why are we so hesitant? Sometimes what people say is, once you start fasting, the thing that will happen is your basal metabolic rate will go down, and after a while, when you keep eating the same thing, you'll start earning weight from that. Well, if you do what we call daily energy restriction, like if some people practice eating less than 800 calories every day, the body responds to that and it slows down its metabolic rate, that is known. But with fasting, something opposite happens. Actually, you can look at this. This is the basal metabolic rate. By day 4, the basal metabolic rate has gone from 39 to 44. So actually with fasting, where you do not eat anything, your basal metabolic rate actually goes up instead of going down. So that is one myth. The other is, again, loss of lean body mass or muscles. But people think that if I stop fasting, I will not be muscular, I can't build my body. They did a fasting in actually bodybuilders, resistance-trained males, and then they had them fast for 4 weeks and check their lean body mass, and there was no difference in lean body mass when they started to when they finished those 4 weeks of fasting. There is a decrease in fat mass, so you lose your fat for sure, but you do not lose any lean body mass. So while fat-free mass, muscle area of the arm and thigh, and maximal strength were maintained in both groups. So muscles and strength did not decrease with fasting. The other myths we see is some people think, oh, I'll get hypoglycemic symptoms, my sugar will go very low, and then I'll faint, and then I'll lose my consciousness. Actually, that doesn't happen, because glucose is something which is very, very tightly controlled by our body. Our body wants to keep our glucose at a certain level. And again, hypoglycemia is a triad, it's a Whipple triad. So just because somebody has a blood sugar of 65 or 55 does not mean they have hypoglycemia. They have to have the corresponding symptoms to say that it is actually hypoglycemia. And many people, like sometimes we get called from the nurses as well as a hospitalist, oh, the patient has a blood glucose of 65, what do you want me to do? And I basically say, if they have any symptoms, you have to give them glucose. If they don't have anything, you don't have to do anything. So with fasting, most of the times, people's blood sugar level runs in 60s to 70s and they don't have any symptoms. So as long as they don't have any symptoms, that is not hypoglycemia. And if you have hypoglycemia when you're fasting, then you probably need to see an endocrinologist rather than just stopping fasting. So compensatory overeating. Some people think that if I fast, I will eat a lot the next day and then I will not get any benefit of fasting. Well, that is untrue, because there was a study, I think published in 2003, which said that once you fast, the next day your eating goes up by anywhere from 9% to 40%. But then they repeated 3 or 4 studies in 2009 and 2011, and which said that actually you eat less by about 19% compared to the day before fasting. So I think this is also a myth that, and with my own experience of fasting, I can say that you actually end up eating less. I mean, you will eat less and your stomach fills very fast the day after you fast. So, and the other myth that people worry about is I'll be deficient in nutrients. What about like vitamins, minerals, where will I get from that? Usually, if the fasting is less than 24 hours, like the intermittent fasting or the time-restricted feeding, in those cases there is no problem, because our body can easily get those nutrients in another 24 hours. And even in studies, as long as the fasting is less than 7 to 14 days, there have not been shown to be any decrease in nutrients. As long as it is within 10 to 14 days, within 14 days, there is not much difference in nutrients. Now, more than that, there are some studies which show that your levels of minerals like potassium and things like that go down a little bit. But usually for all intents and purposes, like our regular fasting, Ekadashi fasting, and fasting for 16 hours a day, or fasting for 2 to 3 days, that should not cause any change in your nutrient levels in the blood. So what are the obstacles to fasting? A lot of fake news these days. We see a lot of things like, we are probably told in our young age as well that you should never skip your breakfast. Like breakfast should be the biggest meal of the day. Like if you skip your breakfast, then you are harming yourself and all that kind of stuff. People used to say that all the time, and I used to believe that. And then as I was preparing for this topic, I came across this article from American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. It was pretty recently, 2017, where they saw that skipping breakfast does not have any deleterious health effects. Actually, if you skip your breakfast, you will lose weight better than if you do not skip your breakfast. So skipping breakfast is not bad. It's not, it doesn't do anything bad to you. So that is a myth. So do not worry about what will happen if I skip my breakfast. Like people who want to practice intermittent fasting, like if you want to practice fasting from 12 p.m. till 8 p.m. or sorry, fasting or eating from 12 to 8 p.m. and fasting the rest of 16 hours, you can easily do it. You can eat at 12 p.m. afternoon, and then you can probably have a small snack at 3 p.m. and by 8 p.m. at home you can eat your dinner, and then you can fast the next day till 12 p.m. So you get 16 hours of fasting. In those 16 hours, you completely get rid of your carbohydrate or glycogen stores, and then you have started burning your fat as well. So you get those ketone bodies and the benefits from ketone bodies and improved cognition and stuff like that. So a lot of health benefits from that. So obstacles to fasting. Other thing is I can't do it. Like when you ask people, like I recently asked one of my relatives, so and she was telling me that her husband was diagnosed with hypertriglyceridemia. His glycerides were 1,000, and now he's on gemfibrozil, and she's worried that he'll be on that medication for his whole life. I said, okay, why don't you ask him to start fasting? And she said, oh, he won't fast. Why? He says he just can't do it. Like, has he tried? How many times did he try? He never tried it. And how does he know that he can't fast? So the thing is, people think that they just can't do it because they think that, oh, I'll start fasting and I'll feel very weak. So there is a story of monkeys, like there were 5 monkeys, and on Ekadashi they decided that these humans get a lot of benefit by fasting. Why don't we do it and get some benefits from fasting? So the monkeys then said, okay, we'll start fasting today. So they started fasting, and then one monkey suddenly thought, you know, tomorrow is Parana day, and we have to break our fast at a certain time. So why don't we do one thing? Why don't we climb the tree and sit up there where there is fruit, and when the Parana day time comes, we can just pluck it and eat it and break our fast. It will be much easier. And everybody said, that's a good idea. So all the monkeys climbed up the tree. After a while, another monkey said, what if we become so weak that we cannot pluck the fruit? Let's pluck the fruit and keep it for ourselves. So that way it will be much easier. And they said, yeah, let's do it. And the third monkey again thought, what if we become so weak that we cannot put it near our mouth? So why don't we take that and put it near our mouth and wait till the fasting is over? Then they took the fruit and put it near their mouth and waited. And after waiting for some time, another monkey thought, what if we become so weak that we can't even chew the food? Let's chew it and keep it. So they started chewing it, and by the time they did that, one monkey thought, you fools, you have already eaten it. Forget it, you're not going to fast. So they just ate it. So the same thing kind of happens with us. We think that we'll be so weak, I can't do that, I can't do my work, I can't do my clinical rotations, or I can't do my job. So we all give excuses to fast, but once we start fasting, we realize that it will be much easier. Especially when you are working, like say if I'm doing a hospitalist shift tomorrow, I would rather fast because it will be much easier. I won't think about the food, I won't think about eating, and it's much easier to go through the hospitalist shift when you are fasting than when you are not fasting. Because the day you are not fasting, you remember that, oh, it's 12 o'clock, so it's time to eat. Then you have to find a place, go down, get food, eat that food, clean your hands. So you waste about 20 minutes doing that. Whereas the day you are not fasting, in that 20 minutes you can probably write 5 or 6 notes. So you probably become more efficient. Yeah, brief hospitalist notes. Progress notes. You can just, we'll talk about that later. Yeah. Okay. So other obstacles to fasting, people think that they will faint. And usually people do not faint. So my mother came to visit me a couple of months ago, and the way people fast is back home in Nepal, they say, oh, it's fasting day, okay. So then they will cook sabudana, and there will be more fruits at home that day, they will bring more milk, more yogurt. I'm like, is it fasting? Like, are you fasting or feasting? It's very hard to figure out if they are fasting. So my mom came, and I was there, it was Ekadashi, and I said, okay, tomorrow I'm fasting, you don't have to worry anything. She's like, what do you mean? We'll cook some rice from corn, and we'll make some sabudana, and we'll have fruit. I said, no, I don't do that. If you want, you can do that, no problem. And she said, okay, but if you don't eat, then I won't eat. Then she started doing that, mother blackmail kind of thing, where if you don't eat, I'm not gonna eat, and I will faint. And I said, no, you won't faint. If something happens, I'll take you to the ER. We'll give you 1 literal ringer like that. You will be all right. Don't worry about that. I have seen a lot of patients with fainting. Nothing will happen to you. And she was like, okay, that's fine then. And then she didn't eat, and nothing happened, and she did not faint. And she did that for 3 months while she stayed with me, and nothing happened. And she was like, okay, I thought a lot of things will happen, but nothing happened. I said, yeah, nothing happens. So that's another myth, that people think they will faint, but nobody faints just by fasting. I mean, if you faint while fasting, then something is wrong. Either you are dehydrated, means you need to probably drink more water. So you can do water only fasting. You can keep drinking water and keep yourself hydrated. The other thing is, again, I will be working, my efficiency will decrease. Actually, it might be increased, if you think in some ways. And what will others say? I mean, this is something that we say, log kya kahenge, but who cares? Chalte rehta hai apna. Or how long can we go without fasting? Or without eating? Can somebody give a guess?
7 days.
7 days, okay. Any other guess?
30 days.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So the world record is for 382 days. A 27-year-old man fasted for 382 days just on water, a multivitamin, but he was very obese to begin with, so he had a lot of reserves. I mean, I can't go 382 days. I might go maybe a month, but not more than that. So he had a lot of reserve. When he started with 207 kilograms, he lost 125 kilograms in 382 days and was down to 82 kilograms. And 5 years after completing this test, he was supervised. Like, he was supervised for the whole year with doctors. They watched his glucose, sodium, potassium, all that stuff. And he still maintained his body weight. So he was 82 after 382 days, and he went to 87 kilograms after 5 years. So he still kind of maintained his weight with the fasting. So, and while he was fasting, he even had blood glucoses in the level of 30s, and he was asymptomatic, and he was able to walk and walking. He did not have any hypoglycemia symptoms. So generally, when we worry about hypoglycemia, we always have to look at whether or not there are symptoms. Does it belong to the Whipple's triad or not? If it does not, then it's not necessary that you have to treat the number. Sometimes we are focused so much on the number that we end up treating the number than the patient. Okay, and other obstacles is, in the age of social media, we see a lot of Facebook memes. So couples will be there, they're just married, and 5 years after, you see, hey, we have achieved a goal, 10-year challenge, 5-year challenge. But the thing is, I mean, we can make a different kind of challenge. We can make something more healthy, like in Krishna consciousness. We say that we don't have to remove a habit, we just have to replace it with a better one. So all we can do is just fast together and go from this to this. So in conclusion, intermittent fasting has the potential to be a very good tool for fighting a lot of chronic diseases, cancers, diabetes, but again, it is not yet FDA approved. There are no FDA approved indications for that, but again, it is a field of active research, still needs a lot of high quality research to routinely recommend for like regular medical benefit. Okay, so these are my references. Any questions, concerns?
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhu, for a nice presentation. A couple of things. What is the relationship, let's say, for gastritis or peptic ulcer or gallstones? Will the chances increase if one is fasting for that duration?
So I think I came across one research which looked at the harmful effects of fasting. And in those harmful effects of fasting, I did not see any talk about like peptic ulcer disease, gastritis. They basically said if you are taking medicines for those, like if say somebody is taking aspirin and now they are fasting, and certain medicines which you are supposed to take with food, if you are just fasting and you are not taking with food, in those cases it is better, they said, not to fast, because then if you take those medicines on an empty stomach, now you increase the risk of side effects. So in those studies they said better to consult your doctor and maybe do more like a time-restricted feeding or stuff like that. But the most common side effects they mentioned in the fasting studies was feeling that hunger pangs, a feeling of weakness. Constipation was a pretty common side effect. Dehydration was another. But yeah, I did not see of any increased risk of gallbladder disease and all that.
I mean, one more question we can take.
Thank you, Prabhu. Wonderful presentation.
Yeah.
What about people who are predisposed to have migraine? Like sometimes fasting will trigger a migraine.
Now the thing is, I did not see of any studies which talk specifically on the migraine part. Now, see, when you start fasting, this is a very common thing that you will get headaches. This is very common. It is going to happen. Like the first time I fasted, I know I got headaches. Like you will feel those headaches. That is very common. But once you keep doing it regularly, your body will ignore it. So now specifically on the migraine part, I don't think there is any research or somebody has looked into that. But based on other diseases, usually once you start fasting and you basically tolerate for the first day or so, you tolerate it for a couple of times, it subsides. It usually subsides based on my own experience and experience of other people. But I can't say specifically about the migraine, but yeah. Thank you.
Thank you much. So I don't know after